Time for one of my favorite segments of the week. My friend for a long time, I'm not going to call him an old friend because he's so young at heart, Bernard J. Miklasz. How are you, sir?
Hey, I call myself old, so it's okay. You have permission, Randy. I'm doing good. Looking forward to some more playoff baseball, and the Blues opener tonight, not in that order. And it's the Blues, just to throw this in at the top, the Blues their return is very refreshing because it's been a kind of an abysmal baseball experience lately. And, St. Louis City SC, and we're fans of both of them. They've had a couple bad years in a row. The Blues are like going to bring the fun back to St. Louis sports. Even the poor Battlehawks, they can't win they can't get it done at home in the playoffs. It's like Blues, yeah. It's all up to you.
A few years ago, the general manager of the Nashville Predators, Barry Trotz, when they started cutting back a little bit in terms of their veteran players, he said, what we're having here is a competitive rebuild. There's never, in my opinion, been a better definition of a competitive rebuild than what the Blues experienced. Never really went down to the bottom. They did wind up with a 10th pick in the draft in Dvorsky, but they've always been, except for the 1 year where they sold, pretty darn competitive. And they have a whole new nucleus here now. And I think it's if you want to call somebody in sports a genius at what they do, I think Doug Armstrong's ability to rebuild on multiple occasions without the team going to the bottom is really impressive.
He also has a wonderful ability to erase his own mistakes. Usually when a general manager's in a slump, and they all go into slumps, and they screw something up, like with Army, he'd be the first to tell you the amount of money he invested in a defensive core that wasn't very good. And I'm being polite, but he manages to get that fixed within, 2 years. And you look at how he's changed out that really bad defensive group that he had with new additions and some creativity, like getting Philip Broberg. He's really terrific. And you know what? I should have sent you a text to tell you something I was thinking about with Doug Armstrong. And it actually would make for a good discussion. And I specifically wanted to discuss it with you because of your great knowledge of St. Louis sports history. That said, you and I are like, I kind of like sort of getting a heads up about what we're going to talk about. So like if it's an idea of my own, I should have let you know about it. But anyway, I said this on my video yesterday. I didn't make a big deal about it, but I said, Doug Armstrong will go down as on a pretty short list of the best general managers in St. Louis sports history. And I don't think anybody could push back on that. I mean, you got Branch Rickey would be number one. Now after that, we can look at the other. I would put Charlie Army on there. I know you would. Of course, the Cardinals have, Walt Jocketty. I think John Mozeliak makes the list depending on how far down we go.
Whitey was an amazing general manager.
That's right. I was about to say Whitey would be on that list. And I don't want to exclude, the NBA. Ben Kerner was a great general manager. Great.
Yeah.
And
we've been lucky here, Bernie, because we also, the professor, under really trying circumstances, working under Harry Ornest, Ron Caron, the Brett Hull move in and of itself, but Ron Caron, when he had to trade expensive players like Joey Mullen or Mike Liut, he made some really savvy moves under really difficult circumstances.
He sure did. And, when you're the man who acquires Brett Hull, I think you can stand on that alone. But
yeah, right.
He got those teams to the playoffs. He got them to a Western Conference final, Game 7, as a matter of fact. He was also an incredible source of coverage and entertainment and media staying interested in the Blues because he was so colorful and smart and outrageous. Everybody has stories about him screaming at the top of his lungs in press boxes. Yeah, and I mean, and Scotty Bowman was a Blues general manager too. He was the coach and general manager. He did great. I mean, there's been so many great general managers that have come along, and I would say Joe Sullivan probably, right, Randy, Don Coryell's guy. No. Well, that's why I had to screen it through you. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah, no, it's if he would have been more competent, then that team would have won a Super Bowl. But yeah, he wasn't very
And
competent.
and there's
I'll,
got to
I'll
be a
give you
there's got to be a
I'll,
special place for Bing Devine because he was the general manager of the baseball team and the football team.
right. Yeah, no
Yeah,
doubt about it. And
yeah,
he made the Lou Brock trade.
yeah.
So you know, got to give him credit for that. Bernie, here's one that will, I think the people that are tuned in, they'll say, oh, no. But you know who did a hell of a job, as it turns out, was Mike
Who?
Keenan. You know,
Talk me through that one.
when the Blues won the President's Trophy in 2000, on their roster, out of the 23-man roster, 18 of them had been acquired by Mike Keenan. Now, he made the Brendan Shanahan for uh, uh, Chris Pronger trade. We could argue the merits of the trade, but it worked out well for the Blues. They got a Hall of Famer. He signed off on and really did make the Pavel Demitra trade when the Blues got him.
He did.
He brought Grant Fuhr to town, and he did a great job. There were so many moves that were not lauded by Blues fans, but wound up being actually pretty productive players for the Blues. Did he make too many trades? Yes. Did he trade our favorites? Yes. But I look at that 18 out of 23 on a President's Trophy winning team acquired by that guy. Right. He did a pretty good job.
He was a fascinating guy. One of the most fascinating I ever covered. I'd get 2 a.m., 2:30 a.m. phone calls from him, you know, stream of consciousness things. He may have been having a few cocktails. I don't know. So anyway, but he was like Jackson Pollock, the crazy painter, you know, brilliant artist, but basically would destroy his own work, you know.
Right.
Have a great painting, and then he'd go on some rampage and something would trigger him, and then he'd go destroy his own artwork.
Right. And then we can go to the other end of the spectrum. Trader Frank Lane of the Cardinals in the 50s, who legend has it wanted to trade Stan the Man to Philadelphia, I think for Robin Roberts. And Gussie Busch heard about it and fired him like right away.
That's a great story. I love that one. But no, some really, really good times, good men. But Doug Armstrong, don't you agree? Listen, Stanley Cup, all you got to do is stop right there. But then just look at all the look at all the playoff teams, look at a lot of the big stars he got, and always finding a way, like I mentioned, to get out of jams. Just great. And
I want to go back to that because you talk about the jams and the defenseman that he acquired to try to fill in for primarily Bouwmeester and Pietrangelo. But you look now, and Broberg essentially defensively is what a young Jay Bouwmeester was. 6'4", 210, great stick, not the most physical guy in the world, really good skater. Broberg could be that comp. The trade for Cam Fowler last year was amazing. He's 6'4" and 213, another big guy, long arms, long stick. Logan Mailloux, 6'3", 212, apparently has all the tools, just has to learn how to use them. And then we know Parayko, and they were patient with Parayko, 6'6", 228. And then Tyler Tucker being a 6'1", 204-pounder. They've gone back to having a big defense that has big sticks and know how to play the angles.
No doubt about it. And I think that trade for the kid they got from Montreal is going to pay off. I was talking to Cam Jansen about this, and he on KMOX, and he just raves about him. He thinks he's got a chance to be really, really special. And then, you know, even though it was a one and done with him, you know, when Army signed Ryan Suter, I mean, I understood what the reason, but I think Suter exceeded expectations. They had some injuries. He played a lot of games, and he was always steady. He wasn't great, but he did a really nice job, you know. So Army's something else, man.
Yeah, he is as good a talent evaluator, a young talent evaluator as there is. You go back to his very first draft, his very first draft choices were Vladimir Tarasenko and Jaden Schwartz, with the 8th and 10th picks or whatever it was, 10th and 12th, something like that. He did a fantastic job. And I have high hopes for the Blues. I know a lot of people, the Canadians up at the Athletic, aren't really high on the Blues. I think they're going to be pretty good. I would be actually surprised if the Blues weren't a playoff team.
Randy, you're right. And the one thing about that, because I've seen this stuff too, you know, there's people politely, they're not being blatant about it, but they're basically in a polite way showing some respect, you know, asking or wondering if what Montgomery did last year was kind of a fluke. You know, it'd be hard to imagine them playing at the same pace. I've seen that theme. He's a really good coach, but I find it hard to believe they can repeat that pace. And I'm like, ladies, gentlemen, now why would you say that? Because we're talking about regular season hockey, right? Now, if somebody wants to say, well, the one thing missing with Jim Montgomery in his career is, postseason success, a lot of it, right? He's had some, but he's got a losing record, whatever. But I'm not sure if anybody has actually followed what he's done as a regular season coach with 3 different franchises. Why would they be questioning whether what happened when he took over last year was authentic? First of all, with no training camp, he like gets to New York, has a meeting, maybe one skate, and then they start winning. And when they started to slow down after winning a lot, Jim Montgomery used the break for the what's it called, Nations tournament? I never remember that.
The Four Nations.
Yeah. He used that time to have a training camp, and they came out of it flying because he had to teach him more about his system. So they had the 7th best points percentage in the NHL since he became coach last year. And in terms of goal share at 5-on-5, they were the best 5-on-5 team in the NHL, which is saying something because they were an incredibly weak 5-on-5 team up until that point. And they played on a 105-point pace. Like if he had been the coach, you prorate the games he was a coach. So yeah, I'm scratching my head and I'm thinking, well, I'm not sure. They've improved their roster from last year. They've gotten younger and faster and bigger, as you've pointed out. Their depth is much better. They have 2 outstanding goaltenders. What are they doubting exactly?
I think people in Canada still don't believe that Jordan Binnington is good. By the way, it's his 8th year. I can't believe it's Jordan Binnington's 8th year. But
yet Team Canada keeps picking them to represent them in international tournaments.
I think the writers up there, and I don't know what the reason is, they just don't believe. And Bernie, you've given this statistic before. Of all of the coaches in the history of the NHL, 400 of them exactly, they're of coaches that have coached at least 100 games, the top 3 in terms of points percentage, their winning percentage. Tom Johnson, who coached for the Bruins 1971 to 73, coached 208 games, had a 738 win percentage. Then Scotty Bowman, whose winning percentage was 657, number 3 on the list. All coaches in the history of the NHL that have coached 100 games, Jim Montgomery is 3rd all time.
See, you beat me to it because I looked this up again today, except I set the line at, it doesn't matter whether it's 200 or I set mine at, or I set mine at 300 maybe.
Okay.
But yeah, and so if you do that, Tom Johnson's not in the picture, which is okay. So it would be Bowman and then Jim Montgomery.
Unbelievable.
And then Rod Brindamore's high on that list too.
Yeah.
So you look at the incredible job he did in Dallas, the job that he did for the Bruins when they actually, let him coach instead of knifing him in the back all the time. They had won the President's Trophy. Look what he did, turning around a Blues team last year that was basically dead on arrival. And so I'm trying to figure out what it is when they see his regular season success. I would say having the 2nd best winning percentage in the history of the leagues. Oh, not bad.
Pretty good. The best season ever too, right? Nobody's ever had a better season than 65-12-5 in 2022-2023 with the Bruins.
And now, unlike last year when he did a miracle worker job, but it was legitimate, it wasn't a fluke. He had a whole summer, he had a whole training camp to prepare this team. And look, I'm not even saying they're going to win the Central Division because it's so deep, it's so strong, but you don't really have to win it. I mean, they'll get over 100 points, and they'll be a force to be reckoned with in the postseason again. Except I think they'll be better prepared for the postseason this time. So I think Jim Montgomery's fantastic.
Yeah, I'm with you, and I'm really looking forward to this season. Meanwhile, I'm really looking forward to the Mizzou game against Alabama. Bernie, I've been a Mizzou fan since I was 9, so we're probably I could be that caller. I've been a Mizzou fan for 54 years. I don't think I've ever anticipated a regular season game at Faurot Field as much as this one. There have been some other big ones, but as far as I'm concerned, if Mizzou wins this game, they're a legitimate playoff contender. And I don't think obviously the playoff is relatively new, but I don't think we've had a regular season game at Faurot where you say, okay, they win that game and they can play for a national championship.
You got to keep it going because I think you would agree with this. It's not like if they lose the game, that's it, they're out.
No,
but you're only going to have the reality is, if you lose 2 games and you've played a tough schedule and all that, you're probably fine. Some teams would even get the benefit of the doubt if they have 3 losses, but I don't think Mizzou would, frankly, because there's still, despite what people say, there's still that old guard bias within the SEC and even the blue bloods in some of the other conferences. Well, Mizzou, what have they ever won? Just not taking them seriously. But I think, listen, I think the conditions but I'm with you. I'm so geeked up about this. I did a video today. I was late getting it in. I think it's online like just now about this game and made my prediction. And, Mizzou has got the last 3 seasons. They've got the only team with a better home record is Oregon. They got the second best home record in Power Conference football since the start of 2023. And they're tied for 4th with Ole Miss for the best overall record during that time. And he's turned Faurot Field Memorial Stadium for the first time. It looks like an SEC stadium. It feels like an SEC stadium. It sounds like an SEC stadium. He's put a whole culture in there, changing the reputation one by one. And he's an exciting coach. He's on the cutting edge because how can a guy that was virtually a nobody, how can he be, what is he, 9th highest paid coach in college football? But more than that, he is an industry leader in the NIL. He's an industry leader in the transfer portal. He is the perfect, I won't say perfect because no coach is perfect, but he is a coach made exactly for these crazy times in college football. So Mizzou's very fortunate to have him. And I hope they can follow through and, build on their promise by beating Alabama. Because I don't have to tell you this, my friend. There's still a lot of people out there. Like you had this clown in Columbus in the AP poll this past week. He had Mizzou at 22, and he had Texas and Penn State ahead of him. This is after Penn State lost at UCLA and after Texas soiled the bed down at Florida. But,
but they have names, right?
Yeah, Mizzou's nothing. No, like you and I talked about it. These people vote and base their opinions on helmet decals. I have no idea why they're voting. It just makes any sense. So I was watching a video today because I do like to watch YouTube videos because I watch all of them on our channel. But the guy who I like, by the way, he was saying like, "Oh, okay, you called this the Show Me State, huh? Oh, okay, well, another home game, huh? Well, 5-0, that's really cool. But who have you beat? Oh, South Carolina, that's nice. Kansas, hey, that game was kind of cool." And he's just going on right down the list. But you got to leave your home state to go play after this, huh? And I mean, it was just like dripping with sarcasm because he's basically saying that you're a lightweight. So I'm a Mizzou fan. I'm objective about what they do. If they stink, I'll say, they stunk, right? But this idea that there's all these people out there that are intrigued by them, but will only go so far in like giving them the praise that they're worthy of, and they just can't wait for them to fall. So I love the idea. The Mizzou players and coaches, they don't need any motivation for Alabama, but I just love the idea of them collectively banding together to shut these clowns up.
Yeah, no doubt. I think we do have to qualify the statistics because of who the Tigers have played and who Alabama has played. But that being said, the statistics don't lie. Missouri is 3rd in the nation in rushing at 292 yards a game. Alabama is 87th against the run, 60th among Power 4 teams, allowing 155.4 yards a game. If ever there was a setup for Ahmad Hardy to have a coming out party on national TV at 11 o'clock on Saturday morning on ABC, this is it. I think the weakness of Alabama fits to the strength of Mizzou, and the strength of Alabama, and they're very good in the passing game with Ty Simpson and Ryan Williams. They're fifth in the nation in passing. But for all of the issues that Mizzou has in pass defense, they're still 10th in the country against the pass, and they have the number 1 overall defense.
And I, I've been dwelling on that in my own head about the breakdowns they've had in coverage, but it's not as bad as I thought if you look at the bigger picture. I think the quarterback matchup fascinates me. And again, I covered this in the video that I did just a little while ago. It was delayed before I could do that. It's interesting because there's one difference between the two quarterbacks if we're trying to assess their quality. Ty Simpson in Alabama, they're very aggressive about going downfield. Mizzou's not. I mean, that's a fact. I mean, they're just not. If you look at air yards and intended air yards, Alabama's way ahead of Mizzou in that because they're going downfield a lot. With Ryan Williams, I can get it. But I also have a theory. See, that's the only thing because Mizzou's been throwing a lot of short, quick stuff, and it's worked for them. But one of the theories I have, and we'll find out if I'm a buffoon. Well, yeah, of course, a lot of people would say, well, of course you're a buffoon. But anyway, we'll find out Saturday. I'm thinking maybe Kirby Moore has been sitting on this game to upload the deep passing attack because that they have receivers capable of it.
They have a receiver named Speedy.
Yeah, but they haven't really put that on tape much. And that if they're holding off on this until this game, well, that's pretty brilliant. And but so let me throw this by you because you gave me some numbers. I'm going to give you some numbers. If you listen to the pundits, and I'm not going to be too salty about this because I understand the impression that Ty Simpson's vastly superior to Bo Prebulo, but completion percentage, Prebulo higher, catchable ball rate, Prebulo higher, on target rate, Bo Prebulo number 1 in the nation, and Ty Simpson's 16th. Interception rate, that's one negative for Prebulo. Simpson doesn't really throw any. But if you just look at some other things, like, for example, this surprised me, and I checked 2 different stat sites. Prebulo is given a higher grade on passing while under pressure than Ty Simpson. Prebulo, if you go to categorically, Prebulo's got more check marks than Simpson. And I'm not even saying he's better. I'm just saying, keep underestimating them. Keep underestimating him, because I think the guy's got some surprises, but his accuracy, at least in the short and intermediate stuff, has been brilliant. And so I'm looking forward to this. But yeah, I'm with you. And let me throw this at you. And I'm going to echo your point. And I threw these stats in the video today because it was making me laugh. I was looking at all of these different running plays. I mean, different types of runs where Hardy is like in the top 5 and all these different types of runs. Like, in other words, he's not a guy who can power run but can't shake you off. He's not a guy like he does every style of running very well. But I love this, and I got it here real quick. So teams have been trying to stack the box against him. Why? That's what I would try to do. 6, even 7, 8, and 9 defenders in the box. I said, well, we'll slow him down at least, but no one has slowed him down with this. And then the next opponent adds another guy to the box, then another guy to the box, then another. So he's running against 9 people in the tackle box, and they can't stop him. And it's just amazing. Like 6 in the box, he leads 5 in the box, he leads the nation in running. 6 in the box, he leads the nation in running, right? In rushing. Sorry, I'm having a hard time today with my words. When you put 7, 8, or 9 in the box, 7, 8, or 9, which is pretty extreme to try to stop one guy, right?
No doubt.
464 yards on 59 attempts, 31 missed tackles, number 1 in expected points added, success rate of 63%. A success rate of 63% for a running back that's facing 7, 8, or 9 guys in the box.
It's amazing.
That stuff's crazy. Now, the other good news about this, and I'll shut up after this part. I looked at, under DeBoer, Alabama's lost 5 games away from Bryant-Denny Stadium. Now, granted, they beat Georgia. I'm not saying, they've had some really bad days away from Bryant-Denny Stadium, right? And I looked specifically at one stat, because we know Ahmad Hardy is the best there is in college football at breaking tackles, making them miss tackles, right?
Mm-hmm.
The 5 games that they lost away from their home base, the amount of yards rushing against them when they're in somebody else's stadium, and the amount of they gave up in those 5 losses on somebody else's turf. Alabama gave up an average of 133 yards after contact. That's the average.
Oh, man.
I mean,
so that's not a good matchup for them, is it?
So yeah, like you said, and you and I are on the same wavelength, because I think I used some very similar thing in the video. It's like Mizzou's absolute strength, and it is absolutely a strength, matches up against Alabama's most glaring weakness. It really does. I mean, the stuff that Hardy does, Alabama has been awful at stopping, right? So anyway.
So do you think Mizzou's going to win? I think Mizzou's going to win the game.
I do too.
So,
I do too. And there's even some trends. There's even some trends. Home underdogs in the SEC the last 3 years have done great, especially when both teams are ranked. So even that kind of stuff favors them as well.
Right.
And I think I also think the light schedule they've had almost 3 weeks to get ready for this game, because UMass didn't count for preparation. Alabama, they had to go to war with Georgia. They had to go to war with Vanderbilt, and that's a legitimate thing. Mm-hmm. They fought off both of those teams as one. Now they come into Columbia, and then next week they have to play one of their hated rivals, Tennessee. So Mizzou slips in there at a really good time, a fresh and healthy Mizzou team.
Yeah, it should be fun, and it should be epic, and it'll be if they win, it'll be Mizzou's 16th consecutive home win. They have the second longest home win streak in the country. So it should be a lot of fun at Faurot Field for that 11 o'clock game on ABC on Saturday. And don't forget, we will have the post game right here on STL Sports Central right after Mizzou and Alabama. Bernie, let's touch on some baseball. The Puerto Rican publication called El Vocero quotes Yadier Molina as saying, quote, "Right now we're in contact with St. Louis to become a coach for the Cardinals and help Marmol. He's still the manager, but I'd be there alongside him. Nothing's concrete yet, but we're working on it." Your take on Yadier Molina being in talks, according to him, with the Cardinals about being a coach on Oli Mármol's staff?
Well, I don't have enough information to say it's definitely going to happen, but the indications are that this is a real thing. And part of that is some of my firsthand knowledge of this behind the scenes type stuff. And I know you've been privy to this stuff too. When the 2022 Cardinal season ended and the players were in there the next day or the 2 days later to clean everything out. So, Pujols and Molina had played their final games. Both of those guys, not at the same time, but individually, they went to Oli Mármol and they said, "Listen, we've been around a long time. You did a hell of a job with this team. You're a really good manager. You can get better. Not because you're lacking in anything, but the more experienced you get, the more it enhances you." And both of those guys, unbeknownst to other, told Oli Mármol, "I would love to coach for you." Both of those guys. And this was confirmed to me, by Oli Mármol. It was confirmed to me by some other people in the organization. They both approached him and said, "You're a really good young manager. I'd like to be part of this and help you if I can." Now, I don't want to go on a rant here, but contrast that to all these imbeciles we hear all the time talking about this guy's the worst manager ever and all this other stuff, right? And where he's actually been dealt a pretty crappy hand to play, after 2022. And yet Albert Pujols and Yadier Molina not only praise him and tell him he's a really good manager, and they were impressed. They both said they would come work with him. But, who are these guys compared to like Jimmy in Fenton or whatever? I mean, that's how crazy this bizarre hatred of Oli Mármol is,
Mhm.
And so, yeah, they would love, and the thing of it is the wacky crowd, they would love this because if he does become a coach, the reaction in our community, the way it's been, it won't be like, this is great. And this will help Oli. Oli's got a really good start as far as knowing how to be a manager. And with Yadier Molina in that dugout, it's only going to make him better, and it's only going to help all these young players. So that would be like a normal person's reaction. But the reaction, and this, is going to be, they're setting him up. They're going to, Chaim Bloom's going to fire him, probably fire him at the All-Star break. No, he's not. Because if Chaim Bloom's going to fire anybody, he's going to take his time, and he's going to do it the proper way to determine what's next. But I hope this happens because I think it would be a great story, and I think it would really help the Cardinals and all the young players coming up.
And Bernie, I think it's important for a guy like Yadi, who does want to be a manager, to observe and experience what it takes, because here's a guy that made $174 million as a player. It's a different world as opposed to being a player when you're getting in at 2 p.m. When you're a manager or a coach, you're getting there at 10, 11 in the morning. You're there working with players, and the players aren't always really easy to work with and don't always listen to you. And then you play the game, and then afterwards, win or lose, you, as a coach, you're there until 11:30 or midnight. You go home and then do it all again the next day. It's a grueling job. Not that Yadi isn't up for it, but I think it'd be beneficial for him to observe that part of it. And then from Oli's perspective, to observe the media requirements of a major league manager these days.
Yeah, because I think Yadi will need some work on that. And some people say, well, who cares about the media? They're missing the point entirely. The manager of the Cardinals, whoever that person will be, it'll be the next manager. It applies to the previous managers. They are the public face of the Cardinals.
Mm-hmm.
They talk to like 3 different or 4 different sets of media before each game. And then they have another session after the game. And then if a writer or a broadcaster wants to follow up on something, they can go in the office and ask Oli. The manager is the conduit between the fans and the club.
And the club is trying to sell tickets. Especially this club is trying to sell tickets.
Yeah. And so it isn't about, we in the media. It's not that. It's about, if you're going to get your message out, you better have a guy that's going to be really good at it. And I think Oli's has improved. I think he can get better, but he's improved. But Molina is definitely that's something Yadi will have to prove over time, because you know how it is. They're coming from competitors, they view him as a guy that's like combative and intense, and sometimes maybe too confrontational and all this stuff. So I'm sure, and I don't agree with this, but I'm sure some people will say, that'd be a mistake. He's too temperamental. No, he's not. He's just an intense competitor. He's a smart guy. He'll know how to handle a coaching job or a managing job. He's not going to self-destruct. I mean, give the guy some credit. He's maybe the smartest baseball player I've ever covered, So
yeah, he's no doubt. Bernie, I want to talk to you a little bit about Chaim Bloom in just a moment, but we want people to know about the fact that DraftKings, America's top-rated sportsbook app, is coming soon to the Show Me State, and folks can sign up now. New Missouri customers can get $300 in bonus bets when DraftKings launches on December 1st. Download now and place a $5 bet when DraftKings goes live on December 1st. DraftKings Sportsbook brings everything you need to elevate your game day, including live in-game betting, lightning-fast payouts, and endless ways to get in on the action, all right from your phone. And when DraftKings officially does go live in Missouri, you'll be betting with the Sportsbook app trusted by millions. It's safe, it's secure, and has fast money withdrawals. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use the promo code STL Sports right there on your screen to grab $300 in bonus bets with just a $5 bet when they go live on December 1st. That's code STL Sports in partnership with DraftKings Sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 plus, physically present in Missouri. Eligibility restrictions apply. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. Excludes customers who redeem pre-launch sign-up offer. Terms at sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos. Said that fast.
Yeah, you're good at that. Hey, by the way, can I throw something in? Because we all love DraftKings. I joked about this on a video earlier this week. I said, wait a minute. All you got to do is bet $5 and you're going to get $300 back in bonus bets.
Unbelievable.
Like $5 is what it costs you. And it wouldn't even be the large size. if you go into one of these fancy coffee places and order a pumpkin spice latte, right?
That's exactly
So
right.
you go to the counter when you go to one of these places and you order your $5 pumpkin spice latte. Do the coffee places give you $300 for doing
They
that?
do not, Bernie. No. And so you're getting free money from DraftKings, but you aren't getting free money at the coffee place.
So I mean, what a deal, right?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah. So, Bernie, Katie Wu had a great piece in The Athletic talking about how the Cardinals under Chaim Bloom want to expand their pro scouting staff, which I've always thought a lot of, and Tampa Bay has always had. And it brought to me to mind something that I looked up a few years ago about Tampa Bay, because the Cardinals are talking about draft and develop, and I have no reason to believe that they aren't going to be a draft and develop franchise. But when I read about adding to the pro scouting staff, which is, if it's existent right now, they don't do a very good job, all due respect. But when Tampa Bay, in Chaim Bloom's last year there, went to the National League Division Series against Houston, they had 6 drafted and signed players by the Rays: Diego Castillo, Kevin Kiermaier, Brandon Lau, Brendan McKay, Blake Snell, and Yanni Chirinos. They had 19 players among their 25 then who were from other organizations. So while we all perceive Tampa Bay as a draft and develop, what they've done a really good job of is scouting other franchises, organizations, and plucking players like Tyler Glasnow and Randy Arozarena and Willie Adames and Austin Meadows and Shane Baz. All of these guys have come from different organizations. 19 from other organizations, 6 drafted and developed. So if the Cardinals go that direction and wind up winning a bunch of games and going to the playoffs with guys from other franchises, I have no problem. If they draft and develop, that's great. I just want the Cardinals to be able to identify really good players wherever they are.
You nailed it, brother. It's going to take everyone who's really interested in learning what Chaim Bloom's all about, instead of stereotyping him as some kind of, Ivy League guy, analytics nut, blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of depth to what they were doing down in Tampa Bay, and I'm glad that you brought this out because it needed to be brought out. The reason why Tampa Bay is obsessed with draft and development, and they are, and this is the part that people forget. Randy Karraker did not forget it. What the part that they forget is that if you are excellent at drafting and developing prospects, you're going to have so many prospects that frankly, you don't really have jobs for them with you, but other teams want them. You may have too many at one position. You say, well, we can probably get, 2 or 3 missing pieces that can help us win now. And just by, sending some of our prospects. We have a prospects surplus. And you just gave us some names, and there are many, many more. Now, isn't that a smart way to operate a baseball club? If you make sure your draft and development system is just thriving, it gives you an opportunity without having to go into free agency and spend, high premium prices for someone you need. You can trade your guys and get what you need, but still have a lot of great prospects still in your system. Now, who would say that that's a stupid idea? Right? Who possibly with a brain would say that's stupid?
Bernie, and we can crystallize this very easily. I remember talking to Kevin Eibach, who's in the pro personnel department. I think he's a pro personnel director now of the Rays. And they fell in love with Randy Arozarena after he had left Cuba and gone to Mexico. And they were down there watching a camp with a bunch of guys. And they fell in love with Randy Arozarena then. And they didn't tell anybody. But then they come to the Cardinals and they say, you know what? We really like Jose Martinez. We think he'll be a good DH for us. And we'll give you Matthew Liberatore, who's a first-round draft choice left-hander, ton of talent. But can you give us Randy Arozarena too? And the Cardinals really had no idea what they had in Arozarena. The Rays did. And that's why they were able to make a trade like that. That's what we're talking about. Here's another one for you. The Rays got Tyler Glasnow, who you saw or will see more of in the playoffs with the Dodgers. Tyler Glasnow, Austin Meadows, really good outfielder for a few years with the Rays, and Shane Baz, who's a really good pitcher for them. They got those 3 for Chris Archer. because they recognized what value there was in the Pirate system. The Pirates were desperate for a veteran starter, and the Rays wound up giving them Archer for those 3 players. Those are just 2 examples of them outfoxing the opposition by identifying the opposition's talent better than the opposition did.
No doubt about it. And even though Chaim Bloom is gone from the Red Sox for 2 years now, roughly, his expertise in drafting and developing players is the reason why the Red Sox have Garrett Crochet. Because two of Chaim Bloom's draft picks, who were really good prospects, including the catcher, they were traded by the current regime. They took 2 of Chaim Bloom's prospects that he drafted, and they shipped them to the south side of Chicago for maybe a top 3 starter in the major leagues.
Yeah, right. And not only that.
No, but why do that when you can waste tens of millions of dollars on a mediocre free agent?
Oh, Bernie, we had a thing yesterday. Do we have time for this? That book. Andrew Baggerly has written a book about the Giants called The Franchise. And my son Patrick is a huge Giants fan, and he gets everything that he can get his hands on in regards to the Giants and reads it. So this is from the book called The Franchise about the Giants by Andrew Baggerly. When Farhan Zaidi took over as president of baseball operations before the final season of Madison Bumgarner's contract, a potential extension loomed as his biggest initial question. That spring, the Cardinals and Miles Miklasz agreed to a 4-year, $68 million deal, and the Giants tried to use that as a template for an extension for their ace, Bumgarner. At the annual Play Ball lunch a few days before the start of the season, in 2019, Mike Krukow and Dwayne Kuiper introduced Bumgarner and ran down his list of heroics during the 2014 postseason. As the event ended, Bumgarner walked past Zaidi's table. He never broke stride as he delivered a message. Quote, Miles Miklasz never did that.
That's beautiful. That is awesome. That is awesome. Man, the cost of starting pitching is absurd. Hey, it's good the players get what they get, but you better be drafting your own and developing them. And if you better be drafting and developing so many of them that you can flip a couple of them to get a more established veteran. And this stuff ain't that complicated.
No. And the fact of the matter is, and there are some pretty darn good pitchers that have come back from Asia. And Miles Miklasz had a good year with the Cardinals, and he was okay for a while. Merrill Kelly, pretty good with the Diamondbacks. But great pitchers. You aren't going to get a number 1 pitcher, a number 1 quality pitcher like Garrett Crochet. He's not pitching in Japan. He's pitching in the major leagues.
No doubt about it. Yeah. I'm excited about Chaim Bloom. I think he's going to make the Cardinals a lot smarter. And I think in time he'll be adding more people to the front office. He's not going to stop. I mean, his initiative that we just talked about, he went to Bill DeWitt and said, listen, we got to beef up our pro scouting staff because we use that to great effect at Tampa Bay. And I was trying to get that going again in Boston. And Bill DeWitt's all on board because he loves anything to do with drafting and developing. And that's always been in his baseball DNA. So I'm excited because I think Chaim Bloom's has gotten Bill DeWitt fired up again, and that's a good thing for the Cardinals. And anybody who doubts that, obviously weren't paying attention like the first 27 years of his ownership.
That's exactly right. Bernie, is always great stuff. Thank you so much. Good to talk to you. Have a great weekend. Enjoy Mizzou and Alabama, and we'll talk next week.
And thank you, as always, my friend. And thank you particularly today because I was like the late boy, and you because I had to get that video done. Thank you. You're always so kind.
You got it, my man. Love you, Bernie. See you later.
Love you. Take care.
That's Bernie, and I'm Randy.